This is a data science tutorial that is a little advanced that's related to calculating the variance for synthetic control models. Synthetic controls are one of the most important models that you're going to use in the causal inference space, which is popular in product and marketing data science. Ultimately, synthetic controls are used to answer what is the impact of some question in a time where you have panel data, but you have not been able to run a randomized experiment. The issue is when you estimate a synthetic control, you end up with a point estimate for the treatment effect, but it doesn't automatically come with a variance or a confidence interval attached to it that allows you to say this is a statistically significant effect. Now, for years, one of the most common ways of identifying or estimating the variance is to fix the time period of the treatment date, drop the treated region, and then do permutation tests, looping over the control regions to estimate placebo effects, and then use those placebo effects to determine the distribution under the null. But there is a very recent working paper by Athey, Imbens, and I think it's a few of their students at Stanford, and this is last revised in November of 2025. So it is very, very recent, that suggests that the way you calculate the variance for your synthetic control estimate is actually highly dependent on whether or not heteroskedasticity is present in your data, and more to the point, whether or not that heteroskedasticity is dominant over your units, such as geographies, or whether it's dominant over time. And one thing that they introduce is a metric that lets you sort of have a rule of thumb to sort of estimate how much of that heteroskedasticity is in the geo region or in the time-based region. Sorry, the geo or the time dimension. So I start with simulated data. It's bookings by over 40 different markets with 104 different weeks. So that's meant to represent 2 years of weekly data. And the first thing that we notice is heteroskedasticity is absolutely present. I estimate a two-way fixed effects model, and I get predicted value. So the predicted value of bookings for a time and unit. And I notice that the residuals have higher variance with a higher predicted value. So this is a clear sign of heteroskedasticity. I combine this with, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but this test for heteroskedasticity, which also suggests that it is absolutely present, but we've already seen that visually. But now the question is it more dominant across the unit dimension or the time dimension? And so I go through this process that Athey and Imbens and their co-authors work through in this paper. And I get these estimates here. This variance of the exponent of nu is 1.27, and the variance of the exponent of xi is 0.414. So what this is suggesting is that heteroskedasticity is actually much worse in my data along the unit dimension than it is among the time dimension. So why does this matter? Well, suppose that we were the treated region was a region that had high residual variance, right? Well, if we start doing permutation tests and we're looping over the control regions, we're actually going to understate the true uncertainty of that estimate. And the flip side is true as well. If we have a treated region that is in, say, a region where bookings are more predictable, where there's less volatility on a day-to-day basis or a week-to-week basis, then we are going to overstate the volatility and the uncertainty of that estimate. Now, those metrics, what I do is I confirm this visually in our data by predicting values with time and geo-based fixed effects, getting the residuals, and then aggregating those residuals so that we have a variance within geo. And sure enough, we can see that the distribution of the variances across geos are much wider. They go further off. They have higher variance than the variance of the residuals across time. And so, not surprisingly, when we run simulations and we see what the estimates are of those standard errors, and we look at the variance and the standard deviation of those standard error estimates over time, sure enough, we see that the standard error tends to be higher when we do the unit-based placebos than when we do the time-based placebos, right? So this is going to give us more statistical power when we do permutation tests along the time dimension than when we do permutation tests along the unit dimension, when our data has heteroskedasticity more dominant in the geo or the unit dimension than the time. Now, the authors in this paper also present a new way of calculating the variance of the synthetic control estimate, which is using the conditional estimator. And effectively what they're doing there is they calculate the squared residuals, and then they predict those squared residuals using another two-way fixed effects model. And so the idea there is that there may be periods that have higher uncertainty or geos that have higher or lower uncertainty. So they're going to predict that, and they get an estimate for the variance of that synthetic control estimate that is conditional on the unit or time period that you're in. And so there's something that you really have to see here is that there tends to be a trade-off between statistical coverage and statistical power. And this really shouldn't be surprising, right? So if we have a variance estimator and our variance is going to be larger, well, in general, it should be easier for us to have coverage for the true effect to be within the confidence interval. But at the same time, with larger confidence intervals, it makes it harder to reject the null of no effect. So let's summarize what's going on. When you estimate something like a synthetic control model, you get a point estimate for the treatment effect. But there are multiple ways, and it's not a standard way, of estimating the variance of that estimate. Common ways that you might estimate the variance of your synthetic control estimate are doing permutation tests across geos or permutation tests across time or some mix of both. And ultimately, the one you go for to estimate the variance has a lot to do with the heteroskedasticity of your data, which you can identify using the metrics given in the Athey, Imbens et al. Paper.